Hi guys, Stacy here. So we have been talking about something called the Tribe of the One. And what we've been talking about is that this tribe, which is like a group of people who have this shared story. They have this shared story that kind of binds them together and holds them together as a particular group. And we've been talking about how in the Tribe of the One, the shared story is that God so loved us, so loved people, that he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to this earth to show us God's unconditional love, to walk the earth and show us, and then to die and rise again so that we might have this closer relationship with God. But just because the people of the tribe might all belong to the same story, the story of being loved by Jesus Christ, just because we have this shared story doesn't mean we're all the same person. Because if all people are welcomed into this story, if Jesus Christ came to seek and save all lost people, that means that in the Tribe of the One, we might have people who have different skin color, people who have different backgrounds, people who follow different politics. We might have people who are in the band, people who play sports. We might have Karens and Kens. We might have cool people and not so cool people. We might have old people and young people. You might have freshmen and seniors, everything that's in between, even teachers or students, who, if everyone is welcome into the Tribe of the One, that means that there could be many different people part of the same story. But what we talked about last week is that sometimes when we see people confront those who are different from them, when we see the way that they treat those people who are different, maybe they get super angry. They're just so angry that they can't agree on something. Or they start being really accusatory, like, well, if you think differently than me, you must be this kind of villain or this kind of villain. Or they just ignore each other, or they'll treat each other with contempt when they're different. Or we just see sometimes when people confront someone who's different from them, they don't always treat them with respect. But last week, we talked about how Jesus Christ said the Tribe of the One will have to be different. He said in a prayer for the Tribe of the One that he wants to see his people be one, that he wants to see us treat each other differently, even in our differences, to show each other respect and love and kindness and acceptance. Because when we treat each other that way, even in our differences, Christ said, when people see how in the Tribe of the One we love each other unconditionally, they experience God's unconditional love for them too. I mean, that's a big deal when we listen and we show respect and we show kindness rather than anger or labeling or judging. In those moments that we treat each other differently, God says that's when people see me. That's a big deal. That's super exciting. But it's not exactly easy to do. So what I want to talk about this week is some really simple ways of how to treat each other differently in our differences, how to be unified. Because there's this verse that I want to read, and it comes from Galatians. And I'm going to read it from the Message just because that translation of the Bible can sometimes be a little more conversational, can sometimes be a little bit easier to understand. So in Galatians chapter 6, verses 7 through 10, this is what we read. He says, now don't be misled. No one makes a fool of God. What a person plants, he will harvest. What that means is a person's actions, what he puts out into the world, he's going to have to deal with somehow, kind of like consequences. And he goes on and he says, the person who plants selfishness, for instance, ignoring the needs of others. And what he says is ignoring God, because when we love others, the way we treat others, remember, is going to reflect God. So if we're treating others with selfishness, we're ignoring God in them and God in us as well. So it says, when we plant selfishness, we will harvest a crop of weeds, and all we will have to show for our lives is weeds. That's a bummer. But the one who plants in response to God, letting God's Spirit do the growth work in him, will harvest a crop of real life and eternal life. And when he says real life, eternal life, he's not just talking about after this life, so it doesn't really matter right now. He is saying, when we let God do work in us, unify us, do hard work that sometimes can make us be uncomfortable, like listening to someone that we don't always want to listen to, showing respect to someone when it's really difficult, finding peace, finding comfort, not lying and telling the truth instead. When we put these things in our lives, that's when we're letting God do work in us. That's when we get to experience real whole life right now. But then he goes on and he says, so let's not allow ourselves to get fatigued doing good. I want to pause there just because I think the word fatigued is really important for us right now. I mean, who right now is not tired? I'm tired. I'm tired all the time. I wake up and I'm already tired, still laying in bed, just thinking about the day that I have to go through. Just thinking about new restrictions, just thinking about, gosh, what's going to be on the news today? Just thinking about when are my students ever going to get to go back to school? Thinking about when will life ever feel a little bit normal again? I am tired all the time, and I just wonder, are you guys ever tired? Do you ever experience fatigue right now? But he says, don't allow yourselves to get fatigued from doing good. It's okay to feel tired, but he says don't quit, because at the right time, we will harvest a good crop if we don't give up, if we don't quit. If we trust God with even the most unknown and difficult moments, God promises to show up. He promises to do work in our lives. And he says don't quit. Right now, therefore, every time we get the chance, let us work for the benefit of all, starting with the people closest to us in the community of faith. He says right now, take advantage of the fact that the people in the tribe of the one are different, that we have these differences. Don't ever quit trying to be unified, trying to be one, showing respect and acceptance to people even when they're different from you. So, quick ways of how to do that, and then I'm going to give you guys some simple questions so that the next time you encounter someone who is different from you, maybe you'll try them out and see how it goes. So the first part of how to do this is actually, it sounds simple, but it isn't necessarily simple, and it is to listen. To actually pause and listen to someone even when they're different from you. They might look different, they might believe different, they might come from a different place, but to listen to them. What this might look like is maybe this means a senior actually walks up to a freshman in the room and introduces themselves and pauses to listen to their story. Maybe someone that you know is a little different from you, like they're in band where you might be a jock or whatever that looks like. You're actually gonna pause and be kind and listen to what they have to say. Because the next part, number 2, would be to learn. I know that this is gonna blow your mind if you're a teenager, and it blows my mind every single day when I have to confront this, but no one knows everything. We all have stuff that we don't know. So if we are listening, the likelihood is we're gonna learn something. Maybe learn something about that person who's across from us. Learn something about their life and how they got there, why they believe the things that they believe. Learn something new. Because what's really cool is when we're a part of the tribe of the one, we know we have a God who's bigger than anything else that's out there. So we don't ever have to be scared of learning something new. Whether it is science, or it's on social media, or it's in the news, or it's in politics, we never have to be afraid of learning something new, because we know our God is bigger than anything we might explore and discover, anything. But the third part is to love. And by this, I don't mean some romantic, touchy-feely way. I mean to recognize that the person across from you, no matter how different they might be, is also made in God's image the same way that you are. The person across from you is loved and accepted just like you are. Jesus Christ came and died for them the same way Jesus Christ came and died for you. Now, hear me. When I say this, this does not mean agree with everything that other person has to say. Follow along with anything they say to do. You can disagree and still show love to that person. And you don't have to go along with everything they say. Some of us encounter people who are different from us who might say things that feel wrong. Like if they tell you, hey, cheating and lying only affects you, it doesn't hurt the other person. If they say things like, you know what, using racial slurs and calling people racist names is just funny, it doesn't hurt anybody. Hey, throwing this Molotov cocktail bomb into a cop car is a healthy way to express yourself. People can have bad ideas, and it doesn't mean we have to go along with them, but we can still show love because they're still made in God's image the same way that you are. They can still be a part of the tribe of the one the same way that you can. And that's what showing love means, is acknowledging those truths. And number 4 is we can pray for the other person. Sometimes this is actually where we have to start because it's too hard for us to pause and listen and learn. We're just not ready to, for whatever reason, but we can still pray for that other person. How incredible would it be to be a part of a group of people, a tribe that knows no matter what, we're praying for each other, that we are praying to God for the good of each other. How crazy would that be? So I'm gonna post a couple of questions, so maybe the next time you encounter somebody who's different from you, you can try to listen and learn and even show them love, or at the very least, you can also be praying for each other. A couple of simple questions, maybe it'll help you out. All right, see you guys.